Rolling in the View studio, the air already felt charged. Adam Sandler had arrived to talk about his newest dramatic role, a noticeable break from his usual comedic work, one that critics had actually been praising. He settled into his chair with his familiar relaxed grin, expecting the typical light promo chatter. But Joy Behar clearly had something else in mind. "So, Adam," Joy began, her voice edged with a sharpness that instantly drew every eye in the room, "I've got to ask about this sudden shift into serious acting. Are you finally admitting your comedy career has run its course?" The question sliced through the air like a blade. Sandler's smile faltered for a split second before he regained his composure. "Well, Joy, I wouldn't call it sudden. I've been doing dramatic roles for quite a while, and I enjoy exploring different kinds of stories." But before he could continue, Joy cut in, leaning forward with a predatory gleam. "Let's be real. Your last few comedies were torn apart by critics, total box office failures. Are you just trying to salvage whatever's left of your reputation?" The other hosts shifted awkwardly. Whoopi Goldberg shot Joy a warning look, but Joy was nowhere near finished. Sandler kept his cool, though the slight tightening of his jaw wasn't noticed. "I think my fans would disagree with that," he answered carefully. "My movies resonate with people, and that's what matters to me. Not everyone has to love everything I make." "Resonate?" Joy scoffed, her voice rising. "You mean resonate with 12-year-old boys who think fart jokes are peak comedy? When was the last time you made anything actually intelligent, Adam?" Even the audience started murmuring. This wasn't playful banter. This was personal, sharp, almost cruel. Sandler's reply came measured but firm. "Joy, I'm not sure why you're coming at me like this. I came here to talk about my new film, something that deals with some heavy themes about family and loss. I thought that's what we'd be discussing." "Oh, we can talk, but let's make it honest. Your so-called dramatic performances are just your usual shtick, only with fewer jokes. No one's buying that you're suddenly a serious actor." The tension was thick enough to cut. Sandler's publicist, off camera, looked ready to jump in, but Sandler stopped her with a small, calm gesture. "You know what, Joy?" he said, his voice still controlled, but carrying a new steeliness. "I've been doing this for 30 years. I've made films that have brought happiness to millions. I've worked with some of the best directors and actors in the business. If you want to sit here and tear me apart for whatever personal reasons you've got, that's your choice. But I'm not going to let you disrespect my work or the people who enjoy it." Joy let out a sharp, bitter laugh. "Personal? Oh, this isn't personal, Adam. This is about calling out mediocrity. You've been writing the same tired jokes for decades, making millions while real artists struggle to get noticed." Real artists? So comedy isn't art now? Entertainment isn't valuable? The movies I make employ hundreds of people. They give families something to laugh about together. For a couple hours, people get to forget their problems. If that's not meaningful, I don't know what is. The other hosts desperately tried to redirect the conversation, but Joey pushed right past them. "Please, spare me the speech about helping families. You make schlock and you know it. When was the last time you actually challenged yourself? When did you take a real risk?" For the first time, Sandler's calm facade began to crack. His hands gripped the chair arms, and the intensity in his voice caught everyone off guard. "You want to talk about risk? Let me explain risk. Every time I step in front of a camera, I risk failing. Every time I put myself out there for people to judge, that's a risk. But you know what the biggest risk is? Sitting across from someone who's supposed to be a professional interviewer and instead getting ambushed by someone with a personal vendetta." The studio went dead silent, the only sound coming from the cameras still rolling. Joy's smile Her smile turned cold. "Calculating. A vendetta?" she repeated slowly. "Or maybe just someone finally willing to tell the truth
about Hollywood's golden boy who never bothered to grow up." That was the moment the entire tone of the room shifted. Sandler leaned forward, eyes locked onto Joy, and when he spoke, the quiet fury in his voice made everyone in the studio go still. "You know what, Joy?" he said, his tone dangerously soft. "I've been sitting here trying to stay respectful, trying to remain professional. But it's obvious you walked into this with an agenda. So let me ask you something. What exactly have you contributed to entertainment? What joy have you brought into anyone's life? Joy's face went crimson. Excuse me? I've been a professional broadcaster for decades. I've won awards, I've broken stories, I've held politicians accountable. And yet here you are, Sandler continued, his voice growing stronger with each word, using your platform to tear down someone whose only goal has been to make people laugh. You want to talk about taking the easy road? How about sitting at a desk every day, tossing stones at people who actually put themselves out there creatively? The hosts beside them looked like startled deer. Sonny Hostin tentatively tried to jump in. Maybe we should take a quick break and come back to talk about the new movie. But Sandler shut that down instantly. No, let's finish this. Joy started it, so let's see it through. You want to talk about challenging myself? I'll tell you what's challenging. Trying to hold on to dignity while someone who's supposed to be interviewing you uses the entire segment to attack your life's work. Joy slammed her hand on the table. Your life's work? Making the same movie over and over with your buddies while laughing all the way to the bank? That's not art. That's a scam. The audience gasped. It wasn't just uncomfortable television anymore. This had crossed into something far more shocking. Sandler rose from his chair, towering over the desk. A scam? He echoed, incredulous. Lady, I've never promised anyone anything except entertainment. People buy tickets because they want to laugh. They want a break. They want to feel good for 2 hours, and guess what? They get exactly what they paid for. Can you say the same about this show? Do people tune in expecting to watch guests get ambushed and humiliated? Joy leapt to her feet as well, matching his intensity. People tune in expecting honesty. They expect someone to actually ask tough questions instead of throwing softballs at celebrities who think they're untouchable. Tough questions? Sandler barked, letting out a humorless laugh. You think this is journalism? You think what you're doing right now serves the public? This isn't journalism, Joy. This is a hit piece, and everyone watching knows it. Camera operators hesitated, unsure where to point their lenses. The remaining hosts sat frozen, torn between stepping in or letting this historic meltdown play itself out. Finally, Whoopi found her voice. Okay, both of you need to sit down and lower your voices. This is getting out of control. But Joy was long past reason. Out of control? What's out of control is pretending mediocrity deserves applause just because it sells. What's out of control is giving platforms to people who contribute nothing meaningful to our culture. Sandler's eyes blazed. Nothing meaningful? You want to know what's meaningful, Joy? I'll tell you. Last month, I got a letter from a mother whose autistic son only laughs when he watches my movies. My films are the one thing that bring him pure happiness in a world that's often unbelievably harsh to kids like him. That is meaningful. That one letter is worth more than every snide remark you've ever made on this show. She sneered. Oh, please, spare me the heartwarming story. One touching letter doesn't make up for decades of lowbrow garbage? Lowbrow garbage? Sandler's voice cracked, part fury, part emotion. You know what's lowbrow? Sitting here tearing down someone's entire career for no reason other than your own bitterness. You know what's garbage? Using your position to hurt people instead of lifting them up. By now, the audience was totally silent, watching the train wreck unfold. Joy's face twisted with rage, and something else, something that looked disturbingly like satisfaction at having dragged Sandler to this breaking point. Hurt people? I'm trying to hold you accountable for polluting our cultural landscape with your juvenile nonsense. Somebody has to have standards.
Standards? Sandler threw up his hands in disbelief. Your standard is cruelty. Your standard is making guests uncomfortable for entertainment value. You want to talk about polluting culture? Look in the mirror, Joy. You're the embodiment of everything wrong with media today. The tension in the room was suffocating. Production assistants were frantically signaling from off-camera, but the clash had taken on a momentum entirely its own. Joy leaned across the table, her voice dropping to a venomous hiss. At least I'm not a grown man raking in millions by acting like a 12-year-old. At least I still have some dignity. That was the breaking point. Sandler's composure snapped, and what happened next would explode across social media for weeks. His face flushed a deep red, and when he finally spoke, his voice trembled with a fury no one in that studio had ever witnessed. "Dignity?" he thundered, the word echoing through the studio. "You want to preach to me about dignity? You sit here every day gossiping about people, spreading negativity, tearing down anyone who dares to be happy or successful? That's your version of dignity? That's your great contribution to the world?" Joy attempted to cut in, but he was past the point of holding back. Decades of frustration with critics, cynics, and naysayers pouring out in one unstoppable wave. "No, you don't get to talk right now, Joy. You've had your moment. Now it's my turn." His finger shook as he pointed directly at her. "You know what real courage looks like? Waking up every day, choosing to bring joy instead of misery. Choosing to make people laugh rather than making them feel small. Choosing to build something instead of tearing down everything from the safety of the sidelines." The other hosts were frozen. Sunny looked like she might burst into tears. Sarah Haynes sat with her jaw hanging open. Wookie was gesturing frantically at the producers, but they seemed just as stunned by the live spectacle unfolding in front of them. "You think making people laugh is easy?" Sandler continued, voice cracking with raw emotion. "You think it's simple to stand in front of millions and try to bring a little light into their lives? Every joke is a risk. Every film is putting your heart out there for people like you, people who've never created a thing to judge, people who've never tried to brighten anyone's day, never put anything real on the line." Joy's mouth opened and closed soundlessly, like a fish gasping for air. For the first time in the entire interview, she looked genuinely shaken. "Adam, I think you're overreacting," she stammered. "Overreacting, lady? You spent 20 minutes trying to dismantle my career on live television, and now you think I'm overreacting? Do you want to see what overreacting actually looks like?" What happened next instantly entered TV legend. Sandler reached into his jacket and pulled out his phone. His hands trembled as he scrolled through messages. "You want to hear from real people, Joy? People who aren't bitter critics sitting in judgment?" His voice strengthened as he began to read. Here's one from Jennifer in Ohio. She writes that my movies helped her through her divorce, helped her laugh when she thought she'd never smile again. "Adam, this isn't necessary," Joy tried. "Oh, it's absolutely necessary," Sandler shot back. "Here's Michael from Texas. He watches my films with his elderly father who has dementia. He says they're the only thing that still makes the old man laugh." He looked up sharply. "Still think my work is meaningless garbage, Joy?" The audience began murmuring. Some were wiping tears. Camera operators zoomed in on emotional faces, people who had become completely invested in the raw honesty pouring out of Sandler. "And here," he continued, his voice rising with passion, "is Sarah from Michigan, a single mother working 2 jobs. She says she watches my movies after 14-hour shifts because they remind her it's okay to be silly sometimes, that laughter isn't childish, it's essential." Joy's face had gone pale. She hadn't expected this. She'd come ready with criticism, but not prepared for Sandler's ammunition of heartfelt testimony.
"You sit here in your cushy chair," Sandler said, his voice booming through the studio, "earning 6 figures to tell people why they shouldn't enjoy things. Meanwhile, out in the real world, people are struggling. People are hurting. People need reasons to smile. And if my stupid, juvenile, lowbrow movies give them that, then I'm damn proud of every single one." His voice shook, not from rage now, but from pure sincerity. This wasn't acting. This wasn't a performance. This was a man defending the purpose behind his life's work. Joy finally regained her voice, though it was noticeably smaller. I'm not saying people shouldn't enjoy entertainment, Adam. I'm just saying that as artists, shouldn't we push ourselves, create something with substance? Sandler stepped closer to the desk, eyes blazing. Substance? He repeated. You want substance. Let me tell you about substance. Substance is a kid battling cancer who laughs at one of my movies and forgets his pain for 2 precious hours. Substance is a family sitting together in a theater sharing a moment of joy instead of staring at separate screens. Substance is choosing to put something positive into the world rather than adding to the endless pile of cynicism. He paused, steadying himself, though his voice stayed powerful. You know what really lacks substance, Joy? This interview, this whole attack, this need you have to tear down someone who's never done a thing to harm you. That's what's empty. The studio was absolutely silent, except for the soft whir of cameras and the sound of someone in the audience quietly crying. Even the crew seemed mesmerized, unable to look away. Joy made one last desperate bid to regain control. Look, Adam, I think we just got off on the wrong foot. Wrong foot? Sandler repeated, disbelief dripping from his voice. Joy, you didn't get off on the wrong foot. You came out here locked and loaded, fully prepared to take me down for reasons I still don't understand. He shook his head. And guess what? You didn't succeed, because at the end of the day, I know exactly who I am. I know what I've given to the world, and when I go home tonight, I'll sleep like a baby knowing there are people out there laughing because of something I created. He turned his gaze straight into the camera, speaking directly to viewers at home. To everyone watching who's ever been told that their joy doesn't matter, who's ever been made to feel embarrassed for liking something simple and silly, do not let anyone steal that from you. Life is already hard enough without people trying to take away the few things that make you smile. Then he looked back at Joy, his voice quieter but unshakably firm. And Joy, I honestly hope you find whatever it is you're chasing, because this, he gestured around the set, it isn't it. Hurting people isn't it. With that, Sandler turned and walked off the set, leaving behind a stunned studio and a host who finally realized she had picked the wrong fight with the wrong person. The camera lingered on Joy's face, capturing a fleeting flicker of what looked like regret before the show abruptly cut to commercial. The interview would be picked apart for